On 15th of March every year, consumers around the world commemorate World Consumer Rights Day. And because it's normally on 15th of March every year, and noting that it will fall tomorrow on a Saturday, which is not a working day mostly for us here in Kenya, we saw it fit to host this webinar today, joining hands, of course, in unison with the rest of the consumer movements worldwide. The theme for this year's celebration is a just transition to sustainable lifestyle. Now, in line with that, in the course of this week from Monday, ending today and culminating to the accommodation tomorrow, Consumer International has been hosting a flurry of events in the form of online sessions on various topics that relate to the theme with various experts across the globe. Having attended a couple of those sessions in the past 3-4 days, I think I just want to share maybe just one or two areas I thought were important, just the key highlights, as we also seek to see what we'll be covering today. One of those is that this year marks 40 years of the UN guidelines for consumer protection. And now, being that that's anniversary with the guidelines that were developed by the UN General Assembly, that webinar was hosted to try and reflect on the enduring impact that shapes consumer policies across the globe, and how these policies have been used over time, developed, and actually are being reviewed, noting that we also have SDG that are supposed to achieve by the year 2030. That's in about 5 years to come. I think that was one of the key areas that I thought was very important for me. And second to that was an area on consumers leading the charge for change, because we are all consumers of some items at some point in time. These choices we make have an effect on the lives we live, the choices we make, and collectively as consumers, the voices we can raise, and also the manner in which you can drive the clamor for change. And then in that same aspect, we're trying to see what type of consumer power can drive the access to safe, sustainable, and also ensure inclusivity and accessibility to goods and services, of course, that are fair to the consumer. Now, with that said, our webinar today, we selected the topic that I'll introduce shortly, informed by issues that are hinged on misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation at the local landscape. What we seek to bring to the fore are the key aspects and how they affect the consumer perspective in making informed choices in their daily lives. So for our topic today, it will be consumer information for trust, safety, and sustainability. And this is also informed, let me just share as well, by one of the areas that were being covered during the Consumer Week. There are also webinar that I attended as well. And now to just take this to the next level and to give us more in-depth information on this topic, and also try to relate the key aspects therein, I am pleased, and we are pleased at the IEA, to be joined by the Manager, Consumer Protection from the Competition Authority of Kenya, Mr. Boniface Committee. You may raise your hand, introduce yourself a bit later. Karibu sana, and you may proceed to share your presentation as you load that. So even as you're loading that presentation, let me give a few housekeeping issues, then I'll give you the mic. So for our listeners and attendees, your microphones and cameras will remain switched off until we load the plenary session where we'll allow for a more interactive session. You could ask your question or put in your comment as we proceed. And then secondly is that we have a chat box option or function within this facility. So Bwana Kamiti, please feel free and take it away. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Jairo, and thank you, Institute of Economic Affairs, for inviting the authority to make this presentation on enhancing consumer information, building trust, safety, and sustainability. This is an important week, and when we talk about consumer information, I could state that the Competition Authority is right now in several counties disseminating information and talking to consumers on their rights as consumers. But this time around is a bit different because we are focusing on learners. We are focusing on learners in junior secondary schools. Why are we focusing on learners? Is that in the past 3 years has seen the authority partner with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development to develop content on consumer literacy that are for schools, for the competency-based curriculum. So content on consumer literacy, on consumer awareness and consumer rights has now been incorporated in the competency-based curriculum. So you find it's a co-curricular approach. So you find all information, any information on consumer literacy being incorporated in every subject. So we are down in the ground talking to learners, and we know learners are the biggest influencers of their parents or in their communities. And we believe that this would be important for the future of consumer welfare in Kenya. And when you're talking about enhancing consumer information and building trust, safety, and sustainability, then we know, and I'm sure that also applies to you, that consumers are now more aware of their rights and are taking charge, for example, on their health. Right now, when you go into the supermarkets, retail shops, before you buy a product, you'd want more information. You are reading labels, you are checking out for expiry dates, and researching more on the internet. And that has been worked, obviously, by the internet explosion. And enhancing consumer information and trust is crucial for businesses because it strengthens relationships with consumers and ensures compliance and contributes to long-term success. So I will be speaking to you today, not only from your perspective as consumers, but also businesses. You could be running a business, either a manufacturing unit or any other business that where you're providing goods or services to consumers. Now, let's talk about consumer information and why it matters. We know consumer information matters because it builds consumer trust. When you're transparent, when you're clear and honest and giving information which is accessible, that information helps consumers feel confident about a business's integrity. So when you don't provide this information, then consumers lose trust in you. And I'm sure you could mention a few products out there or brands out there that are on either side, that are providing proper information and clear and honest information, and also brands that are not providing information. And I'm sure you are endeared to those brands that are providing enough information. And then ensuring customer or consumer safety. When you talk about informed choices, when consumers understand product usage, understand the risks and safety standards, then they can use those products responsibly and avoid harm. And that is why consumer information is really, really important, which then goes ahead to reduce liability. Clear safety information reduces the risk of misuse and potential legal claims against the business. So the more the reasons for consumer information and why it matters is that it enhances your business, but also promoting sustainability, responsible consumption. Educated consumers are more likely to choose suitable, sustainable products. And the long-term impact is that businesses that prioritize sustainability help preserve resources and contribute to environmental and social well-being. Other advantages, I would say, or why it matters, is that it enhances the competitive advantage of the businesses through meeting customer expectations and differentiation, because transparent and sustainable practices set businesses apart in competitive markets. And most importantly is regulatory compliance. For example, the consumer welfare provisions of the Competition Act, CAP 504, give there are clauses, quite a number of clauses on false or misleading representations and questionable conduct, and aspects of product information standards and product safety standards. So by adhering or complying with the regulation through you adhere to the law, and this enables your business to avoid penalties or to avoid legal actions that can bring down the business, and also fostering consumer empowerment. When you foster consumer empowerment, then you find consumers endearing to your brand. So, and encourages feedback. So consumers are able to know that they can be able to reach out to you at any time, and they'll be able to get feedback. They will be able to provide feedback, which will enable your company to, to revise or to improve the welfare to consumers. So we are going to talk now about the importance of trust and building trust through transparency. And what I'd like to indicate is that trust is the foundation of customer loyalty. And when customers um, trust your brand, when they trust the information that you provide to them, then they become loyal to your brand. We have seen brands out here in various sectors, in the telecommunications, in the food sectors, and across, and even in the financial services sector, where customers adhere themselves to those brands. And the questions we ask ourselves is, why are they doing that? You'd be surprised to find that the products might not be as good as compared to other brands, but it is because they have endeared themselves to consumers through the information that they are providing. And and therefore, it is important to provide clear, accurate, and accessible information that fosters trust. And some of the examples to do that is through honest labeling, is providing clear pricing, and also ethical sourcing. Now, consumer safety, and how do we ensure consumer safety and prioritize safety through information? We can prioritize safety through information. I'm sure you've heard of incidences, not only in Kenya, but also in other countries, where consumers have instituted legal action, class action suits against brands or companies that seem to be violating their rights, especially in the pharmaceutical sectors and other sectors. And therefore, customer safety is really, really key. And we need to prioritize that through the information that we give to consumers, because it's a top concern for consumers, either in terms of product safety or data privacy. We have seen incidences, and the authority has been investigating incidences where customer safety has been compromised in various goods and services. And when we talk about data privacy, which is also a safety concern for consumers, the authority then goes ahead and works with other sector regulators in that area. For example, we work a lot with the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner and other regulators such as the Communications Authority of Kenya and the Central Bank of Kenya, amongst other regulators. Therefore, when we talk about ensuring customer safety, then what we mean is that we need to provide detailed safety information, which reduces the risks and obviously builds confidence. And examples could be list of the ingredients. How are the ingredients are the ingredients reflective of the tests that you have undertaken on that product? In 2017, the authority undertook investigations into various food sectors. And what we noted, especially in the edible oil sector, is that some of the companies in the nutritional information that they provide, that they were picking that from the internet. So the question is the ingredients lists, safety certifications, are they reflective of the tests that you have undertaken? And we need to ensure that you provide us information to consumers and in order to enhance their safety. Sustainability is a topic that is discussed, has been in the discussion for the last number of years. And in Kenya, even amongst businesses, we are seeing how should we drive sustainability and promote sustainability. And this can be done through transparency. We are seeing now consumers increasingly preferring eco-friendly and socially responsible brands. And therefore, we need to give clear information about sustainability practices, such as the carbon footprint in terms of recycling, which influences purchasing decisions. We have seen now companies giving information through sustainability reports, through eco-labels, and also disclosing on their supply chain transparency. But we have also seen concerns that some brands are using these labels to falsely mislead consumers about the quality of their products. And the authority right now has started focusing on these particular issues in terms of the labeling, the eco labels, and establishing whether the information that they're giving to customers is truthful. But we want to look at the benefits for businesses and why businesses should invest in consumer information, which we see as very, very key. I mentioned the aspect of increasing customer loyalty and retention. Then you're able to retain the customers um, who, who are purchasing your products or your brands. Then there's a competitive advantage in a crowded market. In order to stand out from the rest, then you need to provide information. When you give information, actually on the contrary, then consumers will endear to your brand and to your product. And also, which is going to obviously enhance the brand reputation and reduce legal risks. So businesses, we call upon businesses to invest in customer information, in providing consumer information. And this goes beyond the customer care, the traditional customer care that we've always thought about. It goes beyond that. And this is about providing information to consumers, and in turn, it's a great investment, which will be good for your business. So how can businesses enhance consumer information? So I'd like to state just some few actionable steps for businesses. Businesses can enhance consumer information through focusing on transparency, education, and engagement. And I'll give you an example of the financial services sector. Right now in Kenya, we see a lot of Kenyans preferring to use mobile loan apps for, as an alternative to the traditional banking as a source of taking loans. And through the authority, we normally undertake numerous surveys just to be able to gauge customer loyalty, customer preference to certain brands. And in this particular aspect of the digital credit providers, we have seen consumers endearing themselves to certain brands of mobile loan apps. And we have asked ourselves several questions, and why are customers going to these brands? And it is because of how they are treated. And you'd be surprised that the repayment rates of this particular brand, I wouldn't want to mention the name, is actually 95% as compared to other brands which, for example, if they are collecting their loans, if they are doing debt collection, then they harass consumers and share the information with their relatives or the public. But this particular brand, the repayment rates of their loans is up to 95%, which is quite impressive. And it is because they have invested in steps, they've taken action to enhance consumer information. So one of them is providing clear and honest information, clearly communicating the product details, pricing, safety standards, and even sustainable practices. These businesses have avoid misleading claims. They back up statements with verified data and certifications. If I could use the example of mobile loan apps, you find that the fees and charges which they have indicated in their terms and conditions that they charge, they actually do not charge that. So, and that is misleading. Then these businesses ensure that the terms and conditions are simple and easy to understand. So when you simplify the terms and conditions and you make it easy to understand so that I do not have to go to a lawyer to explain to me what the terms mean, then customers or consumers will adhere to your business. Then other steps are prioritizing safety and quality. You could share information on safety testing, on quality control, and compliance with industry standards, and offer clear usage instructions and warnings to prevent misuse, as well as, most importantly, establishing product recall protocols and communicating them effectively when needed. Then these companies obviously promote sustainable practices. They encourage recycling. They have responsible product disposal and guidance on how their practices have an impact on the environment. And most importantly, they enhancing accessibility and inclusivity. That is making consumer information available in multiple languages and accessible formats. We have seen challenges, for example, in the pharmaceutical sectors where a consumer goes to purchase drugs, either through a prescription or over the counter, and you find that most of the drugs that they purchase from the pharmacists do not even have English as a language. So it's either in Hindu or in Turkish or in any other language. So accessibility and inclusivity is an actionable step for businesses in order to get consumers to adhere to your brand. And also the use of visual content, such as icons, such as videos and infographics, can be able to cater to diverse audiences, as well as ensuring that your customer service is equipped to handle inquiries about trust, safety, and sustainability. The education of consumers is very, very important as an actionable step for businesses. You need to create awareness campaigns on product safety and sustainable consumption, offer guides and training sessions, and also partner with regulatory bodies. Would be interested to work with companies to be able to provide accurate information. By sharing some of your terms and conditions, then the authority can be able to guide your businesses your business on aspects of regulatory compliance and whether what you have indicated is actually customer-centric. Most importantly, engaging consumers and listen to consumers also. You need to collect and respond to customer feedback to improve products and services. Most of the times we have seen that brands would indicate their contact information on the products. They could give their email addresses and also phone numbers. But when you try to contact those brands, they're not reachable. So the question is, then how are you engaging and listening to your customers? So what are the challenges and solutions, and how do we overcome barriers to transparency? So we need to create long-term strategies to implement transparency measures. So we could incorporate long-term return on investment through increasing customer trust. I know there's a challenge of supply chains, but some of the solutions we could use is using blockchain and other tracking technologies. We could take advantage of the AI, to be able to overcome barriers to transparency. But one other challenge which we need to overcome, businesses always experience, is the fear of revealing weaknesses. When we reveal weaknesses, customers see that you're vulnerable, and this is a solution. As much as they see that you're vulnerable, they will also see that you are disclosing to them the opportunity for you. You're being honest and you're showing commitment to improvement. And obviously, that should translate to the opportunity to take action that will help you improve. So looking ahead, we need to look ahead and what is the role of consumer information? Right now, we see a lot of technology. There's artificial intelligence and blockchain, which will play a key role in enhancing information sharing. How do we take advantage of AI in providing customer insights, in reaching out to the consumers, and not through the traditional social media only, but using this technology to be able to also improve and reaching out to your customers. But again, looking ahead, we need to think about there's an increase in regulatory requirements for transparency. If you go through the consumer welfare provisions of the Competition Act, then you will actually deduce a lot of regulatory requirements for enhanced transparency. And we need to look ahead and provide this information to consumers. So what is the call to action? Your business definitely can make a difference. We need to start assessing our current transparency practices. How about undertaking a gap assessment of your consumer protection policies, a gap assessment of your redress mechanisms, in your customer resolution policies. Once you assess that and your current transparency practices, then you're on the right track towards making a difference to consumers. And therefore, it will mean then in future, you'd be able to commit to continuous improvement in sharing consumer information and identifying the relevant partners who can help you to build trust, safety, and sustainability. The authority can be able to come in to assist your businesses in adhering to consumer protection policies, and I've put my contacts there. And thank you very much for this opportunity. Now I'd like to take questions. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Bwana Committee, for that presentation. Maybe just to recap a few key points that I might have picked from it and share with the rest of the audience, is that the aspect of consumer being at the center point of all this is very key. And I like the point you began with, which is the fact that down to even to inculcate this into the curriculum, beginning from the very basic CBC. I think that's a step in the right direction. All consumers need to be aware of their rights and their obligations as consumers, and also, of course, access to information on products and services that they might need to acquire. Having said that, I think you also noted the fact that many consumers are now well-versed in information, bearing in mind the fact that the internet has really helped. So people are just by search through Google or whatever searching they prefer, they're able to get information on a given product or service at real time and immediately. So the need for consumer information actually, as you've noted well, helps to build confidence of consumers on the product. Also helps us to actually take responsible use of that information or that product. For the producer, it enhances their competitive advantage, and of course, the aspect of trying to comply with the regulations in terms of meeting the product standard requirements. I think those are very, very key issues that you've raised, and I'll just like to reiterate on the same. To enhance transparency, of course, you noted the fact that there being very many mobile apps that offer the loans. There's a specific niche market for a given brand, and this has been enhanced by actually just giving information to the consumer in terms of what they can provide, the safety, labeling, pricing, and of course, other pertinent issues that come with the product, and of course, the intention thereof. Towards your end, you mentioned the aspect of the key issues that need to be taken on board to enhance consumer information. That includes such like giving clear information, prioritization of safety and quality, and also, which I thought was important to add on to that, was the aspect of having product recall protocol. I think that is very key for consumers to know that when a product is found to be defective or not meeting a certain standard or those set standards, then they can be they have the leeway or the option to actually undertake a recall. It's also important to engage the consumers, take a listening ear, and attend to their grievances. Finally, the need to face the challenges and solutions going forward. You mentioned that we need to have a long-term strategy, and I like the aspect. I'm a very big follower of AI. I think I really like AI. The things can do are just marvelous, and some are just out of this world. And of course, blockchain technology. But those can be counterproductive, can use be for good or for bad. I think at the IEA, we're trying to say that we want AI to be used for good. And so in terms of also enhancing consumer use, AI for good would be an option worth taking an interest in. So with that, bearing in mind that you've also mentioned that there's increased regulation in this for transparency within this sector, I think that will be key so that in as much as an industry or a service gives production of the consumer, on the other hand, seeks for that particular information, it's readily available, and it gives all the required units, or for that matter, information that will help the consumer make an informed decision. So thanks a lot. That in a nutshell is what I think I picked. So I would like to pass this over to my colleague Fiona to take us through the plenary session.
I am yet to see other questions, so I think I'll ask mine first as I wait for the rest. And anyone, you can either type on the chat box or you can raise your hand and then we will unmute your mic. So you had mentioned that there are some cases in which some businesses have, say, false nutritional information where they lift from the internet. I'm just curious to see what mechanisms can be used, can be strengthened in order to ensure that these companies actually provide verified product data. And I'm guessing this one would just cut across any type of business, really. Then my second question is, are there channels that are most effective for consumers to be able to provide feedback? And how can businesses better use that feedback for product improvement?
Thank you, Fiona, for the questions. Yes, businesses, it depends on how they reach their particular consumers. And businesses need to identify what their consumers, what channels their consumers would prefer. Obviously, there are those who would prefer social media, there are those who would prefer calls, but it depends on the business itself. And if they realize that their segment of consumers are probably the young people who would be more on Instagram or TikTok, then that is the best channel that they can use to provide feedback and to be able to communicate to consumers. Now, in the matters of your question on false nutritional information, and businesses should be very, very careful in the information that they provide to consumers. When we undertook the investigation that I was referring to, and noted that these businesses would pick nutritional information from their internet, is that we applied the law, our regulatory mandate in getting these businesses to ensure that they are whatever they put as their nutritional information is information based on tests that they have undertaken. And that basically that is what businesses should do. There's a time the authority undertook an investigation on a certain eatery that had misrepresented on and indicated that some of the cookies that they were selling were gluten-free. And they equally had a label on the side that indicated that the cookies may contain traces of gluten. And when they gave their, I would say, mitigating factors on why they had indicated that way, they basically indicated that those products are baked in an environment that would be susceptible to cross-contamination. And then we indicated then that then as you prepare these products that you consider gluten-free, then it is important to have a separate, a separate bakery environment, and provide information which is based on the actual tests or actual baking process that you have set in place. And so businesses then should be very careful on the information that they're giving to consumers, and then institute mechanisms and strengthen those mechanisms to ensure that the data that they are providing is verified and it is based on tests that they have undertaken.
Okay. Thanks,
Okay.
Fiona. Yeah,
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
Continue. You can
Right.
continue. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Fiona. I see a question coming from my colleague John Butua, but in the meantime, Chelsea Malesi asks, what are some of the other ways consumer information can be enhanced sustainably when it comes to the financial aspect without monetary assistance from the relevant partnerships? I think that also ties to an initial question that was asked, and it reads as follows. How can small businesses with limited resources ensure compliance with safety and information standards without incurring excessive costs? So I think I can go for those two first, as we hold on for any others that might be coming. No, wait, before you go ahead, I see a hand by Jacqueline Kagume. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you, Steve. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, go ahead.
Okay. So thanks, Boniface, for your presentation. My question is related to what Steve was talking about with regards to AI. And I think it's useful that the authority has identified the opportunities offered in increasing transparency and overall improving customer experience. But I'm just curious, on the flip side, AI has been used increasingly to generate and spread a lot of misinformation, and some of the content online, specifically relating to different products, is actually false. So my question is, has the authority considered proposing specific regulatory strategies or some regulation that relates specifically to AI-driven misinformation? Or do you think the current regulation as it is currently suffices to protect consumers from being misled by businesses? And my second question, almost related to that, is because today's Consumer Rights Protection Day, our discussion is related to the digital space or disinformation on the digital space. I was just curious because many online businesses and e-commerce or social media platforms across rather operate across many jurisdictions. I was just wondering whether the authority has any measures in place to prevent or to work with these platforms to prevent disinformation or misinformation in digital advertising that applies, that may not necessarily be emanating from here, the Kenyan jurisdiction. Is there anything in place that you have, or how do you intend to go about that? Thank you.
Okay. I think you can go ahead and take those four, the two from Jackie and the initial two that I read out.
Okay, thank you for the questions. Now, when you talk about consumer information, the aspect of costs should not really arise. I'll tell you why. Because we are disseminating, already we are disseminating information through websites, through product labeling, through apps, and through any other information, through any other medium that we're giving to consumers. So all we are saying is that the information that you provide should be accurate, should be accessible, should be truthful. So the aspect of cost does not really come in there, and you can be able to provide this information to consumers without incurring excessive costs. And if you look at, for example, the financial aspects, right now, the traditional banking sector, what they're doing is that for consumers going to take loans, they're giving what is called the total cost of credit. So they have been able to get a section of the terms and conditions, information which they know would be really, really, really important for consumers, and providing it as a separate sort of information that a consumer can understand, the total cost of credit. If you look at certain mobile loan apps that have endeared to consumers, they are providing clear information in terms of the amount that you have taken as the loan, the exact amount that you're going to pay, and in brackets, they have put on the side the percentage rate and the total amount you're going to pay at the end of that particular period, if it's, for example, 1 month. So it just requires a tweaking of an app or a tweaking of the website or providing clear information such that, and that reduces the incidences where consumers will consumers will not be able to understand what you're indicating. And also what is in the terms and conditions is very, very important. A few years back, before the Data Protection Commissioner Office was set in place, we undertook an investigation into unconscionable elements, terms and conditions for the financial services sector. And you'll be surprised that time we saw clauses that have been indicated in the terms and conditions, such as the bank reserves the right to share your information for research and marketing purposes. Although now that has changed, but you can imagine what damage that would do for consumers. So there's no aspect of cost, especially of cost that you're going to incur in doing this, is only tweaking the information that you're providing to ensure that it is clear, honest, and accessible. And Jacqueline has asked a question on regulations on AI use because of misinformation. What we have seen is a lot of, and it's true, as you have indicated, there's a lot of misinformation on certain brands. But when we identify that, since that is not within our purview as the authority, is that we are able to provide the information or the evidences that we have collected or the complaints that we have received from consumers who have contacted us to the relevant regulatory agencies. One of them is the Communications Authority we work with them in regards to this. But also, in terms of other jurisdictions, we are not really looking at digital advertising. What we are working a lot on, and we have seen that has really exploded, are online scams. There are a lot of online scams happening not just in the financial services sector, but in other sectors such as the tourism sector. And the online scams are either perpetuated by Kenyans against Kenyan citizens or other foreign citizens, but also perpetuated by foreign citizens against Kenyans. So what the authority is doing so far, because we have seen that as a big challenge, is that we are working with other jurisdictions. For example, the US Federal Trade Commission. We are working with the Australian Competition and Consumer Protection Commission and other jurisdictions under the auspices of the International Consumer Protection and Enforcement Network to come up with ways to address these scams that are happening on an international basis. Locally, we are working with other regulatory agencies, for example, the DCI and the National Computer and Cybercrime Committee called the NC4 to look at these online scams. And we are hopeful that in the next months or so, then we should be able to come up with campaigns to educate consumers about these online scams, but also get to protect consumers from some of these people who are perpetuating these scams. Thank you.
Awesome, Bwana Boniface. Thanks a lot for those responses. I hope our listeners, Jacqueline and Chelsea, are sufficiently answered.
Stephen, you cannot hear you.
Hello? Is that better?
Yes, Steve.
Okay. I was saying that I hope Chelsea and Jacqueline are sufficiently answered by those responses from you, Boniface. Now, the AI issue is a funny one. I don't think we'll be able to canvass it in this particular meeting conclusively, but it's a subject that we need to have a discussion on further, especially as concerns.
I don't know whether it is only me, but I cannot hear Stephen.
Just as
maybe I don't know, maybe his computer is muted or something, but we can hear you still.
We can hear you, Bwana Boniface, but you can't hear us.
You can exit and rejoin.
Okay, now I can hear you.
Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
So let me reiterate what I said. I said that I hope Chelsea and Jacqueline are sufficiently answered. And second to that, I was saying that the issue of AI is quite vast. I don't think we can conclusively have a discussion around it, whether it relates to consumers or other topics in this kind of forum. But that being said, I have a different question. Let me just try to find it. Yeah. So it was an issue of balancing between what to issue as information to consumers and what not. So the question is saying that how can businesses balance the issue of providing comprehensive consumer information, of course, without overwhelming consumers with too much information. So at which point do you say this is too much information, and at which point do you say we need some more information? That would be something I think we need to also have a look at. I'm not seeing any other question. Anyone else to raise a hand? Okay, so perhaps you could provide an insight on that as we move along.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Now, what information and when would it be considered as too much or too little? I would give the example that I gave relating to the financial services sector and what the banks are doing is that now when you take a loan, then the information that they would give you, other than the other terms and conditions, is that they have picked up relevant information which would be relevant to you. So they have been able to identify that consumers are raising concerns about the cost of their loans, are raising concerns about how much they are paying. You know, what's the percentage? What's the interest rate? What are the other charges? So then they picked up that information into a small pamphlet, which they present to you. And therefore, for so many consumers is that each time they pay a loan, then they go back to that particular document and say, good, they are adhering to this. So businesses then should be able to identify what information would be relevant to the consumers. Right now, many consumers are really taking care of their health. They are reading labels. They want products which are not just friendly to the environment, but also products that would enhance their health. So then it's good to give accurate and honest information about what this product would do to somebody's health. we've seen products in the market which would create impressions that this product will not increase for example, your cholesterol levels, or will not contribute to a certain autoimmune disease. The question is the information you're providing correct? If you think that information is not correct, then why provide that information? Then you can be able to pick particular information which you feel would be relevant to the consumer.
Okay. Well said. I see a question from John Mutua. Let me just read it verbatim. He's saying that you have intimated that some products, for example, medicine in the country, have information or instructions in non-English language, which is repulsive to consumers. Firstly, it says, is this legal? And then, how does the authority work with other agencies, such as KEBS, to ensure compliance in terms of consumer information in English? And perhaps maybe to add also, how about Kiswahili?
Yeah, thank you for that question, John. We know that there's also an aspect of counterfeits in the economy, and there's that possibility that there are counterfeit products being sold in the country, as well as parallel products that are coming in through illegal channels. And I think these are the ones that have a challenge. What we have been doing is that we are not just working with KEBS, and that has been entrenched in our law under Section 67, where the authority is mandated to work with the Kenya Bureau of Standards on all matters relating to product information or the quality of products. But we also work with other agencies such as the Pharmacy and Poisons Board and the Anti-Counterfeit Authority. And as much as we would go on the ground to do mystery shopping and do market screenings on certain products or issues that are affecting consumers, what we do is that we collect this information and give it to the relevant agencies, especially in the pharmaceutical industries. We have provided that information to the Pharmacy and Poisons Board. We have a collaborative a memorandum of understanding where we work together, and this is one of the ways we are able to do it. Where we are able to undertake action as the authority, especially if it's not a specialized matter, like in the pharmaceuticals, then we'd proceed to implement, or we proceed to impose conditions. We penalize up to 10% of the previous year's gross turnover of a business. And we basically use the enforcement powers that the authority has been granted by Parliament to take action against such businesses. Thank you.
Right. I think, again, I hope John is sufficiently answered. Though you didn't tackle the Swahili version of my question, but that's fine. Perhaps that can be looked at as we proceed, bearing in mind that we have two national languages, Swahili and English. But anyway, thanks a lot. I see Jonas put a thumbs up there. He's sufficiently answered, which is that's okay. Thanks a lot. So let me hand over to Fiona for a final word.
Okay. I probably will just ask Boniface if he has any final thing to say before I give my closing remarks.
Well, my final words is I'm hoping I've been have provided clear information on the need of for why businesses should give consumers information. And also for you as consumers, you need to demand for that information. You have rights as entrenched under Article 46 of the Constitution of Kenya on consumer rights. And the authority is available to assist businesses to, entrench policies and procedures that would enhance the information that you give to consumers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Steve, any final remarks before I give my vote of thanks? We can't hear you.
Sorry. So my final word is just to say that I think consumers worldwide and Kenya in particular, we need to be alive to the fact that we have rights as consumers to the information that we receive from the various service providers, a right to request for information, and also to give feedback where we are aggrieved. So as we commemorate this year's World Consumer Rights Day, let me wish all consumers happy consumption. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So at this point, I just would like to say thank you to Boniface. You know, we always call you for our webinars and you don't turn us down, so we don't take that for granted. We are very, very grateful to you for always coming and just sharing your knowledge with us and giving us different perspectives to how we can look at consumer issues. And, you know, at the end of the day, we are always enlightened from how we came into the webinar. So asante sana. Yeah, that's what I would say to you, and thank you to our participants who are able to make it. We also don't take it for granted that you are able to spend an hour plus with us to just talk about consumer issues.